Welcome live from Brussels, from our booth at the Hydrogen Europe Week. Thank you for joining our live session. I will be your moderator for the next 30 minutes on this very exciting topic of public and private partnerships, how to accelerate green hydrogen deployment by building public-private partnerships. My name is Katharina Immor, and I'm very happy to welcome my two topic experts today. So Matthijs Soede, just to get your title correctly, you are the Clean Hydrogen Mission Director at the European Commission, and by profession a knowledge expert on the public sector. Welcome, Matthijs.
Thank you.
And welcome, Christoph Noeres. Christoph Noeres is the head of green hydrogen at thyssenkrupp nucera and representing right now the industry's angle on hydrogen deployment. Warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
As this is a live webcast, feel free to put in your thoughts, ideas, and questions in the comment section below when you join from social media. We will pick some of the questions up later on the Q&A part. Starting with the first question, Matthijs, this goes out to you. What is the Clean Hydrogen Mission? What exactly do you do?
Thank you for this question. First of all, I think the starting point is mission innovation. I think it was 7 years ago that President Obama with other world leaders were saying, okay, we have to accelerate the clean energy transition, we have to invest in clean energy, and as governments we have to double our investments in that. After 5 years, indeed, the governments reached the duplication of the investments, but they said maybe we should have a better target. We should work with a mission. We should work more focused. And then they developed a couple of missions, and one is in the cities, but in our case, a development on the clean hydrogen mission. And our target is to make it, in fact, cost competitive. Mm-hmm. So we said the target for the clean hydrogen mission is $2 per kilogram from the generation to the end use, to bring researchers together, to demonstrate it as well via hydrogen valleys. And we work together with more than, let's say, 20 countries, with the governments, and to make this happen. We believe that we shouldn't keep hydrogen just here in Europe, but it should be rolled out on a global level. Mm-hmm. That's a very short introduction, and I'm leading in this initiative. We are co-leads together with the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Chile, and the European Commission, and I'm working on behalf of the European Commission in this real partnership, and you see how we can progress, in fact, the clean hydrogen developments.
Thank you so much. It seems like a huge effort which you're taking on. I learned that there are many initiatives around hydrogen in general, but in particular also for accelerating the hydrogen deployment. Do we need all those initiatives? Is this multitude really necessary, especially in the context when we talk about speed? Yeah,
I understand the question very well. When I came into, then it was also, we have already this initiative and that, and it's far too many. But when you look very carefully, you don't see many initiatives on research innovation, because I think it's a very important issue to get the cost down, but also to scale people and to really make it happen, and also thinking about the future. So that was really a gap in this landscape. But we are working now also together with the different. We have the IPHE, we have the SEM, but also there are some private partnerships. They are popping up as well. I've seen already 3-4 different private sector collaborations on the global level, that we really try to see, okay, what are you doing? Okay, we focus here, but it's also stimulating the knowledge exchange between the different ones. I think it's important as well for hydrogen as such, that we involve more people. It's not just a small group, but the more people know about hydrogen, the more is done, and there might be some duplication, the better it is. We would like to see hydrogen everywhere.
Taking on the industry's angle on that, Christoph, what are the right incentives and instruments for the industry to accelerate deployment, and are they in place?
Well, first of all, I fully agree with what you said. I think we are now going into a new market. We want to build up a new market, and to make that successful, well, we need to do it in a different way. We need partnerships, cooperations, nationally, but especially internationally, inside Europe and around the world. It's the only way to solve the whole thing. Coming to your question regarding funding, yes, there's already a lot of programs in place. I think it would be too far to say we need already a compass to guide us towards all that network, but I think we could a little bit more focus on those. Yeah? So we need funding for sure for R&D, funding for infrastructure, and funding for the production projects. And we have to say, we as thyssenkrupp nucera have already received quite a funding also for especially R&D. We have the big, our test and pilot facility in Duisburg come installed. We have other projects now running to further develop the technology. I think that's quite good in place. There are significant programs now coming for the production. I especially have to say and underline one of the key things is H2 Global, because it really picks up the cooperation. We in Europe have a chance for renewable energy, but we have to import renewable energy, and to import that, the only way is to translate the green energy towards methanol, ammonia, or liquid hydrogen. That's the only way it works. And for that, we need a partnership. And H2 Global, we are one of the founding members of that, is really one of the key ways to do it. Maybe we need a little bit more volume of investment inside. I think we need also some more speed on that. And maybe also we have to enlarge the group. So we heard from the European Union about the European Hydrogen Bank. So not yet sure what is really inside, but it sounds to be that's very similar to the H2 Global. So let's bring that together, and I think then we have some super great tool to push the things forward. That we need.
Everyone is talking about the IRA, of course, the US landmark bill that will provide almost $400 billion for climate protection, and also offers a very comprehensive and rewarding tax credit system for hydrogen producers. And this question goes out to both of you, maybe starting with Matthijs. How will the IRA change the game in Europe?
I think it's a very good example what a country can do to provide funding, to help a sector getting off, let's say it like that, and to go into large-scale deployment at a certain point. Also to demonstrate new technologies as such. And I think that is also with Mission Innovation that we are looking, okay, what are the best practices in funding which we can use, that we have a kind of a competitive or a playing field as well in Europe. Look, I'm working as well for the European Commission, and we look carefully what is happening around. But we can learn from each other how to stimulate a market. I think that will IRA mean for us, in fact. In Europe, we have more than 30 countries. I think it's also very important that countries are aligning. The complexity in Europe is, by the way, very difficult. We have funding at the EU level, but it's also national, regional level, which here is in Germany, the Bundesländer. Very important player as well in stimulating innovation. But what can we do together as well? We need some synergies maybe between the different funding mechanisms. It is not so easily to learn from that. But I think we have a good example now in the United States. Let's see how they will really implement it and how it will kick off there. I'm happy that they have it. It means as well that also the United States sees we have to invest in clean technologies. I think that's an important signal which we like with Mission Innovation. But yeah, let's see how it brands off here in Europe.
I like that very much. I think also the US has certain complexity. As I said, they still have to implement the IRA. There are 52 states in the USA. So I'm not sure how different that will be in the different states. But I think they have done a very clear and straightforward move. Yeah? It's a very big program, and the $3 per kilogram of clean hydrogen is a significant word. Yeah? I think it's a significant statement. And we in Europe have to take that, I just utilized the word, we have to see that as a wake-up call. You said we should learn from that, and I think that's the right wording, yeah? Maybe better than a wake-up call. So let's look on that and try to implement those better things into our packages and funding programs, because there is a risk that projects might move to the US. There is a risk that manufacture might move to the US. And we have to keep Europe attractive, and we have to keep the industry here. I think that is most important thing.
No, of course, we like to keep the industry in Europe, and we will work on that as well. But then it's the European Commission has, I think, to take steps and also to learn from you what are the issues in that respect. Talking as well, it's announced as a public-private partnership, but I think the industry have to talk with the governments to see where are the gaps, what is needed, what kind of support is needed, but also what is the investment from the industry in that. It's not only the governments, it is also investment needed from your side, I have to say.
Correct, yeah. No, if you look into the whole funding, and I think maybe just taking one of the examples, if you fund the production of green hydrogen inside Europe, and if you look on the timeline for such a project, nowadays we are saying from the first idea until we have the production running, this might take between 6 and 8 years. This is a very long time. If you look on our target of 2030, this will be very challenging to meet that. And at the same time, so the project, the utility company or the chemical industry, who is putting the money, the financing this project, if they decide now we have FID and we go forward, then they look on the supply chain. We just talk only about electrolyzer supply as one thing, but under the electrolyzer suppliers, a huge manufacturing network. You know? So only in our case, there are by far more than 100 subcontractors and subcontractors who are doing small things, hoses, plastic pieces, gaskets, everything. And everybody has to ramp up the whole thing, scale up. Yeah. And we see there the chance to exchange there. How can we orchestrate funding of the project, which is more or less at the end of further down the value chain, and then how to scale up the supply chain up front, not only electrolyzers, but all the pieces belong to it. Yeah? And these are many, many small, medium-sized companies who have to take a significant risk to buy machines, to build up halls and projects to ramp up the manufacturing capacity. And I think that is something where we have to further look at. And I think this idea to further talk and exchange how we can speed up the whole thing, that is something very crucial and very good.
Yeah, one of the issues, I think, is to show a future. I know that Frans Timmermans is speaking now somewhere else here at the conference, and he has been really an advocate from the Green Deal. Where do we want to be in 2050? Where do we want to be in 2030? And that is what we are doing as well as European Commission, setting some, let's say milestones, some horizon. There is what we'd like to go. And that gives some security, I think. And we have to be very firm on that. We shouldn't let that go. I think it's also other governments, other parts of the world have to put that horizon for their countries. You are located in Germany, but you are in international environment. You would like to go everywhere. You are exploring what is happening in the United States, but maybe as well India or Australia, potential markets for you. They should have as well the same ambition regarding clean energy transition as we have here in Europe. I think that's a very important signal, and that's what we would like to send out as well to different governments. Hey, put this, we need the clean energy and we need a clean planet for the future.
Well said. I think this global perspective we anyhow have, we are doing global business for quite some time, and we are seeing now, even Europe was #1 in the whole race. Everybody is picking up now. Yeah? We touched, USA is now clear, we touched already India. India is also setting up a new strategy. All those countries are coming, and we have to see how we can keep technology and projects here in Europe to decarbonize the whole industry.
Yeah, no, sure.
There is the concept of hydrogen valleys, and there is the magical number of 100, which shall be reached. Matthijs, maybe this question goes out to you. So what is a good concept, or what are good concepts for hydrogen valleys, and how can public-private partnerships create value?
Now, first of all, the concept of hydrogen valleys, I think, to bring supply and demand together. We're talking a lot about the generation, the supply, but we need as well off-takers. I know that the chemical industry is happy to make the deal and to green, but we need as well other industries to decarbonize. The steel sector, in the mobility sector it's also happening, but the cement, whatever. I think it's very important that we also create the end use. And that's what we try in the hydrogen valleys, where we demonstrate the generation, the storage and distribution, and indeed to have multiple end users together. We like to do it in a valley, because then I think the distribution is a bit cheaper. Right? When you have to transport long distances, it adds a cost. So let's start to keep it very close together in an area. And I think there, in fact, the public and private sectors have to come together. Because you build it up, the production and the end use, in a small area. The governments, you mentioned about it takes 7 years. It's also about the permitting, but also how are we going to invest in that? And we really have to build this in a certain area where people are living. Don't forget it, from the industrial perspective, we like to build everything everywhere, but we build it in an environment, in the built environment. And that's why you need as well the public, the governments, the citizens as well to involve in this process. We believe in these hydrogen valleys, 100. And we have the Hydrogen Valley website already. We try to really count them, and we would be very happy to have the 100 in 2030 really realized. I think there are so many ideas already floating around in the different countries. Italy would like to set up a hydrogen valley in each region. In Germany with the Highland concept. In the Netherlands already some working. France is also developing this concept. And they really pick up this idea. And I think that's something very valuable. And this concept is even going now outside. I was in a meeting a month ago in India, and they had as well a call for hydrogen valleys. And I think that's really valuable. But the private sector and the public sector have to work there together to make it really happen. What do you think from the Hydrogen Valleys concept?
I think the idea to bring the whole supply chain, the value chain together has a huge potential, a lot of learning, and bring it very close to the society and industry. I think that is the key of that. So it has a super high value.
Yeah. Now, what is important that there are multiple end users. I think we have to insist that other industries really decarbonize and think about how can we use clean hydrogen as a fuel for our industries, to produce heat or for the industry, whatever. I think that is something which we shouldn't underestimate. If we don't have any off-takers, we are nowhere.
Yeah. Is there any good examples by now for a very advanced hydrogen valley, a lighthouse project, so to say?
I think a lighthouse project, I think in the north of the Netherlands and partly in Germany, where they connect offshore winds with green hydrogen production, and together with the offtake with the industry, but also with the mobility sector. In Spain, we see in the Basque Country, it's happening as well with Repsol, with the biochemical. I think these are already quite far on the way of implementing. But I've seen many different concepts already going. And we would like to see more. That's very clear. We have examples, we learn from these examples as well, how to implement, how to bring the different players together. What you're saying as well with the supply chain, there are maybe 1,000 contracts. The difficulties is with the permitting, with the financing. And I think we should learn, talk with each other a bit more.
Yeah. Maybe one request I have for you, because typically the valley projects are not super big industrial projects. The key intention is to have a lot of different end user cases and to make it really to increase efficiency and bring hydrogen and many end demands inside. For us, it would be key if from those 100 there may be 2 which are really big, including really big industrial players as well.
Yeah.
That would be our request.
Of course, we would like to have the big players and also happening big. But I think it's also a good signal when it can happen small. It's also easier to get the people in. It's maybe not about only the technology, it's about trying to engage people in the work, trying to give them a bit of understanding, to think, hey, it's not dangerous to change. So let's start a bit smallish, let's say it like that. But in the final end, you will have 15%, you will have to go big as well. It is both ways. And we have to demonstrate it. You don't do it immediately to huge scale at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I think that for the industry and the governments, how can we engage people?
Well, when we think about the hydrogen economy, we might need public-private partnerships for all aspects, so for sustainable funding, for project deployment, for enhancing the supply chain, etc. Where do you see the gaps? What still needs to be filled?
Maybe you can.
Well, I think one of the good examples is really the H2 Global thing, how to bring government together with many different industry players, and hopefully also the H2 Bank. I think one of the lighthouse ideas and concepts we have. I see maybe a smaller gap there, because if you look on the whole supply, the whole value chain, there are many players involved. We could look into history. If you want to transport energy, like it was started in the 60s, 70s for LNG, these were super big projects, because one project was including the whole line. From the well, from the source, manufacturing the gas, liquefying, transporting, so making the ship, the terminals, the jetties, and the end user. And there's a lot of players inside. And I have somehow the question whether this complexity is also covered properly by that concept, or whether we need more guidance. There are some big players, industry players also, who can make this guidance and steer such huge projects. But there are also many smaller players who maybe cannot steer that completely. And the question is that by such a partnership, is it sufficiently steered and guided, because it has a super big complexity? As said, if you take the LNG example, LNG took really decades to build up LNG where we are at this moment in time. And I would say we have to look into that item. Is that properly covered, and can we move the projects successfully into the future?
Yeah, what I hear as well, you need a structured approach. It is very complex. And then we focus on this item and that, but I think a structured approach, I think that would be very helpful to understand, in fact, the full ecosystem exactly. In that respect. Yeah. One of the issues, and maybe that's your job, maybe, it's the communication. That we really communicate as well what are the issues and how can we connect the different dots. I think there, clear communication is very important in that respect. Yeah. Maybe there is a bit of a gap which has to be filled.
Yeah, maybe this exchange from regulatory point of view, governmental point of view, as well as industry point of view, that there must be even more centers of exchange to communicate, to exchange know-how, learnings about projects, about funding, and to bring that further together. I'm not sure whether that is sufficiently already created, or we need more platforms for that.
No, I think we will try to do it within our own platform to get more clarity on that. But I will take that as well and try to work. With the governments as well, we are looking to some knowledge areas where we say, okay, what is happening exactly, trying to get the structure to help and guide the industries, but also, by the way, research organizations. I think that's also important to get them in, to bring this innovative element, to make the things more smoothly in. I think it's like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe quickly jumping to the audience. Do we have any questions coming in the live chat or here at the booth?
No, I don't think so. One of the issues which I think as well for the hydrogen industry, I would like to challenge, I think is the connection as well with the other parts in the energy system. Renewable energy technology is very important. And without renewables, I think we don't have the clean hydrogen. And we shouldn't put ourselves aside from them. I think we have to work together in that respect with the wind, the PV, on the generation, because power is so important for us. It's our lifeline for clean hydrogen. And I think that's also that we have to present this together. People believe in that. Hydrogen is really a building block, it's supporting. And I think that's something which I think we should improve in the communication as well.
If we look on the 10 million tons, 100 gigawatts electrolyzer capacity, that means by far more gigawatts in renewable energy. Yeah. It's a huge area we need, and I think that learnings and that information must be passed, and we have to move it forward.
Look, and with the permitting of the electrolyzers, etc., maybe we can speed it up, but we have also the permitting for the wind farms and for the PV farms have to speed it up. It's in the full supply chain that we need to have a look on that. I think that's, by the way, as well with Mission Innovation, coming back where we started, we have also a mission on green-powered future, that with the green power, that we really for 100% can energize, I think, our economy. And hydrogen is part of that. We have our own mission in bringing the cost down, bringing the public and the private sector, bringing the message as well to other countries. I think that's really important. I'm so happy to see that in other countries are picking up. I got as well today a request from Namibia. They will be here on Thursday. They would like to know more about hydrogen as such. And maybe you should invite them to your booth as well, to explain a bit more on electrolyzers. But I think that is how we can work together and bring this. It's about building a global hydrogen economy in that respect.
Perfect. Great.
Well, two complementary perspectives on the idea of public-private partnerships. One final question to wrap it up that goes out to the both of you. So, public-private partnerships, how do we accelerate the deployment of green hydrogen? That was the question of the session. What are your key takeaways? How do we accelerate the green hydrogen deployment by public-private partnerships?
Yeah, my key takeaway as well today, we have to communicate even more. But we started already by today, no, maybe already earlier. But we have to continue that, and even more intense. And I think it's also the guidance to research and innovation, what is really still needed. I see people still saying, okay, everything is there technology-wise, but we can still improve, for sure. We have to be sure on that. So also there. And in the hydrogen valleys, it's very clear. We have now maybe 2 operational. We want to go to 100, and we can only realize these valleys when we work together. And I think now is the moment there to go. We have seen announcement of additional funding available for that. Also the pressure of one issue which we didn't address yet in our discussion. It's not only about costs, it's also about the security of supply. That's something maybe which we should add as well in our communication. The clean energy should not be cheap, but also secure. That we rely on the fact that this camera, on these lights, will work. And I think hydrogen can play there as well. Security of supply, and maybe because of that, we are also willing to pay a bit more. And that should maybe as well in the discussions.
Yeah, reliability, security of supply. I think for industry this is key. This is the number one factor for continuous operation. I liked very much your comment how you take the IRA. You said IRA is, let's take that as a learning session for us. What can we take out of that and learn from that and then improve here? I like that very much. So that is my key takeaway from today, and to improve communication there and towards the regulatory bodies. Great. Perfect.
Thank you very much, Matthijs and Christoph, for joining in with your expertise today on public-private partnerships. Thank you very much for joining today our live webcast. If you are up for more, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central European Time, we will have another live webcast, bit different, not in a dialogue format, but as expert pitches around the topics of standardization and certification, around the topic of industrial application and AWE proof points, so alkaline water electrolysis proof points. Thank you, take care, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.